what's going on? So you got yourself a Honda Rebel 125. It's not exactly new, and because we had leaking forks on it, there's a very good chance the oil from the forks was leaking onto the front caliper, the front brake caliper, and your brake pads are now contaminated with heavy oil, which obviously it's not ideal. Or maybe they're just wearing thin and you need to replace them. Well, that's not the end of the world. In fact, that's quite a simple task to do. Let's do this together, shall we? So first thing we need to do is remove the front brake caliper. 12mm socket will do the job just fine. Now the actual caliper is free to come out, you might need to give it a good wiggle from side to side just to loosen up the brake pads, but it should slide off quite easily. There we go. To make our life easier, it's a good idea to remove this retaining P-clip over here. It's not necessary, but it will make our life a little bit easier to work on the caliper without removing it from the bike completely. Now on the back of the caliper there's a bolt that holds the retaining clip that holds basically the sliding pins in place. If we remove that bolt, we can slide the retaining clip top, and then with a bit of luck like this we can remove it completely. Now with that clip removed, there is nothing holding those sliding pins in position, so we can just push them out with a bit of a screwdriver. They come out on the other side, just like that. And the other one. Now with those both locking pins out, there's nothing holding the brake calipers in place. One actually just came out on its own. The other one, with a little bit of movement, can be popped out just like this. Even though in theory there was plenty of life left in this ones because they're thick enough, you can just see and tell that the oil from the leaking forks was dripping all over here and contaminated these parts really badly. They are actually slippery and covered in grease. And contaminated brake pads has very little chance of recovering them. And for the price of what, £10? Maybe 12? Getting the new ones, it's a really good idea. We can bin those. Now before we go ahead and install new brake pads, I would like to take a minute over here and do some cleaning. I want to pump those calipers out, pistons out slightly so I can clean with a brake cleaner those pistons, so there's no gunk, no brake dust, no dust from the road. They're lovely and clean. Clean them inside. Use brake cleaner, don't use any other chemicals over here. Brake cleaner is designed for that specific purpose. I'm going to go ahead and do it now. That's better. And once we're on a cleaning spree, why don't we give some love to those sliding pins? A little bit of steel wool should do the job just fine. Magic. Now it's all lovely and clean, we can install our brand new brake pads inside the brake caliper. What we need to do first, most likely, is push those pistons back There are various ways of doing it. Brute force is usually the one way of dealing with it. Slowly and gently they will eventually go back in there. Very slowly and very gently. Now we can drop our brake pads exactly the way they come out, which these two locking tabs goes on the well, I guess it's the bottom of the caliper if you look at it like this. One and then the other, just like that. Now we have to flip it over and from the other side push those sliding pins aligning the holes in the brake pad through the piston. First brake pad, and then the second sliding pin pushing the brake pad down, finding that slot in there, and drop the other brake pad in, push it down on the locking pad and push the sliding pin all the way through until they find a way on the other side of our caliper, just like that. Now that these two locking pins are fully in, with the locating groove, we're gonna put our retaining clip, slide it all the way down until it clips in place, and put our little bolt back in place to lock it. Torque it up to a specific settings, and that part is done. With that in place, we need to just slide our brake caliper onto our disc, move it into position, and put the bolts in. And don't forget about the little P clip over here that holds the cable onto the little bracket. Make sure it's firmly there so it doesn't flop around. Remember to torque these up to correct specs from the manufacturer's owner's manual. And last but not least, pump this front brake up before you go for a ride. There you go, that feels nice and firm. So there we go guys, it's not rocket science. Working on the bike, it's just nuts and bolts. Bit of common sense helps a lot. Remember to wear your protective shit at all times. That's it for today. Hope that helps you guys if you just start riding and if you try to replace your brake pads on a similar kind of bike. That's about it. Thank you very much for watching. Rock hard, have a beer. I'll see you very soon.